Today I'm going to talk about how I just transferred around 1.4 million miles and got more than 300,000 miles for free, what airlines I picked, and what I'm going to use these miles for. If you're watching this near the video publish date of 5th October, there is a very narrow time frame for you to take advantage of the same transfer promos that I use. And if you are watching this too late, always remember to stay subscribed so you can get timely updates like this. Also, I have an upcoming tool where you can look at where your points can go beyond KrisFlyer, so remember to stay subscribed for that. In my earlier videos about how to maximize your miles, I talked about how we should explore beyond Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer miles for better value for your miles and bank points. This video will explore just that, and this is applicable even if you like to take Singapore Airline flights. The first airline I transferred miles to was to Cathay Pacific. Cathay Pacific is currently offering 10% bonus miles when you transfer miles to its Asia Miles program from eligible partners like American Express, Citibank, DBS, HSBC, OCBC, UOB, and StanChart. Personally, I think you should not use your points from Amex, Citibank, HSBC, or OCBC for this. OCBC has a terrible conversion ratio that is still very lousy even after the 10% bonus, while Amex, Citibank, and HSBC are very valuable points because they can go to places like Eva Air and Qatar, but more on those airlines later. Now you need to transfer your miles by 31st October to qualify for this promo, and what you can consider is to use your DBS, UOB or StanChart points because these points can only go to Singapore Airlines or Cathay Pacific. Cathay Pacific has a couple of users in my opinion. For instance, flights to Hong Kong cost around 16,500 miles on Singapore Airlines for economy and 34,000 miles for business class. Cathay has direct flights to Hong Kong in economy for just 9,000 miles, or in business class for 28,000 miles. If you take into consideration the current promo, it will technically be 8,182 miles for economy and 25,455 miles for business class, which is a pretty decent deal. Of course, Hong Kong is frequently on Singapore Airlines Spontaneous Escapes promo, so you can get business class from as low as 23,800 miles via SQ. But you can only do so with Spontaneous Escapes, while with Cathay, you can plan your schedule ahead. It's probably unbeatable at 8,182 miles for economy though, so Hong Kong lovers would probably want to take note of this Cathay transfer promo. Another route I would want to try would be to various European cities like Milan. Quite hard to get on SQ as far as I can tell, and even if you can book the flight, it is 103,500 miles. On Cathay, it is quite available next year at 88,000 miles if you take Cathay, or 89,000 miles if you take a partner airline back. You do have to stop over at Hong Kong for a bit, but I think this is a feature more than a problem because as a business class passenger, you get to access Cathay's very nice lounges in Hong Kong. I think Singapore Airlines really need to step up their lounge game because Cathay lounges are really great. That's a total of 177,000 miles for a return trip in business class, but if you take into consideration the promo of 10% bonus, it is just 161,000 miles. One last thing I would like to try with Cathay Pacific will be their new Aria business class product. By many accounts, it seems like a very nice seat, and I actually booked this a couple of months ago, but I am very, very upset to say that there was a last minute change that even the cabin crew told me they found out at the very last minute just before boarding. Was possibly the saddest business class flight I took. Yeah, I know, right? First world problems. And I wrote in to express my disappointment over the change. And equipment changes happen all the time and can't really be helped in the name of safety. And Cathay actually gave me 8,500 miles in compensation for 2 passengers, which is better than nothing, I guess. I will still definitely want to check this off my to-do list in the near future, which is why I'm transferring in miles to my Asia Miles account for this. So I transferred 59,600 points from my Amex, which is worth around 37,250 miles before the bonus, and it become 40,975 miles after. Yes, I know I told you not to use Amex points for this, but I'll explain why later in this video. I don't really have much DBS or StanChart points at the moment, but I do have 88,937 UOB Uni Dollar, which can get me 187,000 miles under this promo. Though I'm quite near the next block, so I might want to earn another 1,000 or so Uni Dollar to make it around 90,000 Uni Dollar, so that I can get 198,000 miles without any points left over. Oh, if you're wondering how to get to use this tool, stay subscribed to my Telegram as I will be releasing this to my subscribers soon. Very useful, okay? You can see what airlines your points work with, which airlines are giving you bonus, and how many miles and leftover points you will get. In total, I should have around 240,000 plus Asian miles, of which 20,000 miles are free, and this is good for 2 return trips for 2 packs to Hong Kong or Shanghai, so yeah, that's pretty decent. Next up, we have Eva Air, and if you've been following my content for some time, you will know that I am a fan of Eva Air's Infinity Mileage Land program because you can actually book Singapore Airlines flights for cheaper. Earlier this year, I managed to book my Europe trip with just 160,000 miles for a return trip in business class instead of the usual 207,000 miles that Singapore Airlines requires. And just to be perfectly clear, because people keep getting confused, this was a Singapore Airlines flight, so it is 23% cheaper for the same product. I wrote a guide about it, so check out the link here for more details. Essentially, you are able to book Singapore Airlines flights to Japan and Europe for around 23% fewer miles based on my calculation, and US flights are around 9 to 12.5% cheaper. The gap will increase once Singapore Airlines devaluation hits on 1st November 2025. If you're good with taking an Eva Air flight, it is also very cheap for Taipei flights, costing just 25,000 miles for a direct flight to Taipei in business class. Going to places like Japan or Seoul also only costs 25,000 miles one way. Though you do need to have a layover at Taipei, so a bit inconvenient, but 25,000 miles is very, very cheap. I transferred 350,000 miles from my Amex account to my Eva Air Infinity Mileage account where I already have 50,000 miles. So it's a total of 400,000 miles. I think this should be more than sufficient for a few trips I have in mind, which is why I transferred some of my Amex points to Cathay Pacific, because I think I already have enough Eva Air miles for now. I can bring my family to Taipei twice in business class with 400,000 miles. So yeah, that's pretty much enough for now. So if you have Amex, Citibank, HSBC, and Amex points, I would suggest you reserve those miles for Eva Air because it can save you quite a bit of miles for your next trip, even if you want to take Singapore Airlines. Now, the next airline I want to talk about is Qatar because it is offering a staggering 40% bonus when you transfer miles in. 40% bonus is insane because for every 100,000 miles you transfer, you get 40,000 miles for free. Until 15 October 2025, Qatar is offering 20% bonus if you transfer in less than 10,000 miles, 30% if you transfer at least 10,000 miles, and 40% bonus if you transfer at least 50,000 miles in a single transaction. This is a very attractive offer, but unfortunately, it only applies to Citi and Amex miles. Some of the use cases here include going to Doha on Qatar business class for just 50,000 per person, and it is their Q-Suite cabin which is highly reviewed. I've always wanted to go to the Middle East, and this is the perfect chance for me to do so. With the transfer bonus, this is the equivalent to about 35,700 miles one way. Comparatively, Singapore Airlines requires 56,500 miles to Dubai. Other great redemptions include Singapore to London for just 75,000 miles, something that costs 103,500 miles with Singapore Airlines. With 40% bonus, you just need 53,572 miles. That's a very insane deal. For nearer destinations, you can also book Cathay Pacific flights with Qatar Airways miles for cheap. Just like how you can use Eva Air miles to book Singapore Airlines for fewer miles, it is also possible to do the same with Qatar miles and Cathay Pacific flights. Cathay Pacific charges 28,000 miles for business class from Singapore to Hong Kong, as I mentioned earlier, while the same flight costs just 22,000 miles if you book through Qatar. Adjusted for the promo, it's just 15,715 miles. This is very, very good, which is why I converted a grand total of 1,750,000 Citi points to my Qatar account, which is 700,000 miles after the conversion. I'm expecting 280,000 bonus based on the 40% promo, which will give me 980,000 miles in total. There are of course a few things to take note of. Qatar has been quite notorious for doing things like devaluing its miles without notice and hiking fees. So this is something you need to watch out for if you are planning to transfer, significant amount of miles here. The best thing will be to transfer and use your miles quickly. I'm personally transferring a bit more because I'm of the view that a 40% bonus can withstand at least one or two devaluations, and I also plan to do more traveling in the immediate next couple of years, so stay subscribed if you want to see how I'm using these miles. Also, Avios miles can go to British Airways or Finnair, so there are ways to manage any potential devaluation on the Qatar side. One more thing to note is that this promo is only applicable for miles that reach your Qatar Privilege Club account by 15 October 2025. Transferring points can take a few days, especially Citibank points, because Citibank says that it can take up to 14 working days, although it tends to take 1 or 2 days. Worryingly, there have been some who mentioned that it's been 4 to 5 days and they still have not received their miles. So depending on when you view this video, it may already be too late to take advantage of the promo. So again, stay subscribed if you want to be updated on time-sensitive deals like this. Now with these transfers, I will be juggling between 4 frequent flyer programs so that I can get better value from my bank points and miles, as well as better flexibility. There are Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer, of course, Cathay Pacific Asia Miles, Eva Air Infinity Mileage Land, and Qatar Privilege Club. Now, you don't have to maintain as many as me, but I will encourage trying out at least one non-KrisFlyer program to increase the value you can get from your bank points and also have more flexibility when it comes to booking flights for your next trip. Again, stay subscribed to the Telegram for more on how to use these different airlines and to earn more from a credit card savings account. Subscribe for updates and also tap this video where I talk about how you should get more miles, and I'll see you in that video.